Rawr.
When did we all get this dumb?
Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about tax.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef.
Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
All right, everybody. This is a late night version. I've got the kiddo in bed. I couldn't get anyone else up and at him around this time, so you're going to have to deal with the chef and muddle through somehow, like I always say. But just wanted to get on. There is, in Ohio here, there was some major goings on with the new election stuff. There was a special election today. We were supposed to vote. It was one event, so we're going to get into that. I've got a few headlines. Just been kind of slow. One of the papers I wrote, or I write or work with, basically says on one of the days in the last couple of weeks here that there's just one big headline, and that was it. And it was just there was a Russian port attack. Which is kind of, if you keep going through all of the headlines, it's an everyday thing. So, quick headlines from today. There's an assassination plot in Ukraine thwarted. A woman was arrested in connection purported to assassination plot on the President Vladimir Zelensky. It was allegedly hatched by Russian officials to gather information on the president's whereabouts. They sentenced another of the officers in the George Floyd killing. They gave him 4 more years in state. Basically, they're kind of almost double jeopardying these guys. He's already sentenced to 3.5 years for federal charges, and then he's going to then be sent back to Minnesota for 4 years, 9 months. On state charges. So, basically he said he was the human traffic cone keeping people back. But he was, convicted of aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter, by a state jury in May. So, he's one of the 4 that have been convicted and sentenced. So, a couple of little things. The White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians were in a brawl last night. It was considered bigger than the boxing match, so that was exciting. There's a nanoscale tattoos. It's basically wire patterns that allow real-time sensing. They provide key steps towards monitoring your health and individual living cells. This is supposed to be one of the breakthrough achievements. It's also supposed to be what they are going to use so that when you get a prosthetic hand or foot, that it will basically be able to transmit the brain patterns to your other extremities, and then also to the prosthetic. So, kind of exciting, kind of scary. I mean, if you look at AI coming up, and then we're creating tattoos that run information, which, I mean, honestly, it's not a super far stretch to think they could create tattoos. I mean, they've been printing your liquid crystal displays and things like that for years now. I mean, if you look at those calculators with the front facing, the little strips that show your numbers, that's a printed LCD. So one of those things that you just, you keep an eye on it with a tight thought. South Korea evacuates roughly 40,000 scouts from southwestern coastal site of the World Scout Jamboree event as tropical storm Kanan nears. The storm is expected to make landfall Thursday in the morning local time. So that's kind of the headlines from today. I figured I'd go back another day. Obviously, the U.S. is out of the World Cup. There's political turmoil in Pakistan. There was a train crash in Pakistan. The death toll is over 100. Simone Biles wins the U.S. Classic. It's her first competition since the Tokyo Summer Olympics. Barbie hauls in over $53 million. I'm not sure whether that's good or a referendum on where we're at in our lives right now. The train crash killed 30, injured over 100, and they're talking about maybe even more. So there was also a bus overturned bus overturns at a curve, crashes in central Monaco. So rough day in Europe and Asia for vehicle, mass transit. So there was a Chinese warship that conducted a naval experiment on another Asian. I don't remember what the country was, but fired upon and sunk a maritime frigate. Just a normal everyday frigate. Says it was a mistake, but I don't believe in the coincidence that we were out doing naval exercises and made a mistake from China. So there's a record-breaking slackline walk. Man perched 640 feet up in the air on a line less than an inch wide. Battled high winds, records a record, and the slack line he walked was almost 150 feet, some 60 stories up in the air. I was it was across to like this crazy hotel that looks like a circle, so that was cool. Let's see if I got anything else on the updates here. I had one more. Yep, headlines. All right. So the U.S. hiring growth stays steady. 200,000 and slightly above the downward revised 185,000 jobs in June. According to the government data released yesterday, the unemployment rate dropped 3.5% from 3.6 in June and 3.7 in May. The average hourly earnings grew 0.4%, which is not keeping up with inflation, but you can think that that's a growth and be happy with it. Month over month and 4.4% over for the year over the year, matching June. Some 20-year-old murders They've identified the remains of a 34-year-old woman. In these murders, on that, I've heard some rumblings on that Gilgo Beach in New York. It's one of those deals where they found some remains. They haven't really been able to put everything together on it. They've got over 11 people have been discovered in total so far. So they're considering it a serial killer. So Diana Taurasi is the first WNBA player to reach 10,000 points, which is a milestone and a half. I mean, 10,000 points is a lot of points. So during that, she had 1,344 three-pointers. Sue Bird is the only other NBA player to surpass 1,000 three-pointers. So Big Ten clears the way for Oregon and Washington to also join. They've got USC and I think it was UCLA also are joining next year, and then it looks like maybe Oregon and Washington would join either the next year or the year after. Mark Margolis from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul dies at 83. And NASA, if you believe in NASA, successfully delivers a cargo ship to the International Space Station, if you believe in that. So those are the headlines that you may have missed or that we may have not seen as you went through your week without us. It's been a couple weeks. Again, continue to pray for the other hosts. There are moments in life where you look at your life and reflect, and you either worry about what could be and the end, or you reshape your things and do better at what you're doing. And I think what we've gone through in the last month here, we're looking at reshaping things and doing a better job. So hopefully we'll have the full story maybe next week or the week after. Maybe it won't come for a while, but just be praying for the hosts here as we've had some life altering things happen. So make sure that you're checking out our merch store. This is my shameless plug. Check out our merch store, the Why I'm Angry podcast, whyimangry.com, or on any social media as the Why I'm Angry podcast. Get on and make sure you're downloading our podcast. Make sure you like it, you share it, get it out there. We think we got a good product going out, and we're working on continuing that product and making it even better. We're bringing on some more hosts, some more specials. I'm working on that right now as we speak, and hopefully that'll slide into effect, and you'll see more specials from new people, our researchers, people who have sent out stuff to us from time to time. And then you'll also see more specials from our other hosts, so our regularly scheduled hosts. So you'll get that too. So today we voted in Ohio. This is one of the big things I wanted to talk about. I talked a little bit about it on the live Get Out and Vote noon special. It was about 15 minutes or so. But so I got to kind of see firsthand how the information was so garbled. It was so just like everybody had their special interest groups. It was funny. My mother-in-law called. She was reading the articles while she was kind of talking to us, and she wasn't sure. Like she was visibly disappointed that or not visibly because I couldn't see her because she was on the phone, but she was audibly disappointed that the bill had not passed. And so she was reading the articles and stuff, and she's reading these, and then she starts to see, there were reports and there were commercials about special interest groups. This special interest group wants you to pass it because they want to control abortion, or this special interest group wants you to pass it because they're going to pass a non-abortion bill, or this special interest group wants you to pass it because they want more control. And so I got out of I went to an Ohio Votes website thinking, this is Ohio Votes. It's going to tell me the information and based on its merit. And I left there thinking, oh, they want me to vote yes on this. Because they went through and they said, vote yes because a vote for yes means more control over, how we blah blah blah. And so I started looking. I was just like, well, that doesn't make a ton of sense. And I'm just going to bring it up here real quick. Let's see if I can find it anymore now that it's over. So I was looking at that, and no, I'm not going to find it since it's already over, and they are. Oh wait, maybe. No. So it was funny to go through, and basically it said that a vote for it gives more control over the Constitution, makes it harder, which it should be hard to change the Constitution. And a vote against just says that you don't care about the Constitution, and you think it should be easy to change willy-nilly without regard. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So we've had this rule in place for almost 150 years, and in that 150 years, Ohio has done a pretty good job of staying conservative and being open, and just having freedoms in what they're doing. And so with that being said, I looked at the bill, and the bill basically stated that if you wanted, the bill would put into the Constitution a deal that said, or a law that said that 60%, you had to get a supermajority or 60% of the vote to get to pass a law. And on its front side, that sounds good, because 60% means that a vast majority of the people would want that law, and that would also make it so that any law that was passed would have to be overwhelmingly favorable, in that area. So I was like, okay. So then the second part of the law said that instead of 44% or 44 counties 5% of the population in 44 counties to put a bill on the ballot, or a constitutional amendment on the ballot, you had to get 5% of 88%, or 88 counties, which is all of the counties in Ohio, and you had to get 5% from each county. And if they went and audited your petitions and you didn't get them, there was no possibility of changing it. They would just throw your amendment out. So I started looking at it, and I thought, we're working with some like absolutes here. Like, yes, I do think that it should be tough to change the Constitution of Ohio. At the same time, I want the Constitution of Ohio to be able to be changed when needed. So, on either side, if you have to vote 60% to change it, 41% can stop you from changing it. Instead of, with the current plan, where it takes 49% opposition or 50% opposition to actually stop a bill. So yeah, I have to have more people to like my bill to get it to go. At the same time, I don't have to have as many people to stop a bill from getting through, or an amendment to the Constitution to get through, to stop it. Which means that any positive change that I want to do, or anything that the other side would fight against, I'm not getting through, because, most of the time the opposition on a nonsensical bill, it could be less than 40%. It could be 42% or something. It could. So it's not normally a vast majority of people. It's normally a small amount. And so with that, a lot of bills could be, a lot of good work that could be done, it could be stopped by a smaller amount of people. And so I looked at it and I said, if I want things to change ever, I've got to vote no. I've got to hold out for a better law, because at 60% and only 40% can, 41% can stop you from getting anything done. It's a small amount of people. I can still get 60% of the people to embrace the bill, or embrace the amendment and get it to pass. But at the same point, if I got 41% to veto it down, then that's what they would do. And now, with it not passing, your 41% that you think is so great wouldn't be enough. I would be able to get the bill in charge and put it and get it passed. And so a lot of the advertising said the same thing for both sides. It's about abortion. Well, yes, it's probably this time. This time is probably going to be about abortion. There is a proposed amendment to the Constitution of Ohio based on abortion rights. The right to have an abortion. I don't know how you get off as a human being, not involved in religion or anything, but as a human being, you get off on the right to play God or play a God and decide whether someone lives or dies, or someone is born or not born, created or not created. And I'm going to come out and say it, but if you were dumb enough to do the things that create a child, then you are either dumb enough to keep the child or to decide what is in its best interest. And I know that sounds mean. You're dumb, but use your brain, man. I mean, for real. Think about this. We went over it before. It's less than 0.5% of people who choose, less than 0.5% of the people who choose to have an abortion are either doing it because they have to make a decision between life and death for themselves, or because they have to make, or because it was rape or incest. Less than 1% for the whole, and that's not 1% of people having babies or something like that, so that it's a giant number. That's 1% of the people who have abortions. The overwhelming majority of people who have abortions are because they've decided that it's not the right time for their lives. It's inconvenient for them. Now, I do know there are situations and times where it is inconvenient, and the decision to make an abortion, to have an abortion, seems rightish. But at that same point, the inconvenience it is can be rectified in other ways than abortion. And at one point, it was looked at as, pregnancy and things of that nature were looked down upon. And if we haven't learned anything by trying not to judge anyone for anything, that, pregnancy now is pregnancy now. It's, just like everything else. We're not here to judge. And, that being said, we can't judge you on whether you had an abortion, or whether you had your child, or you didn't have your child, or any of those things. So we're not allowed to do that anymore, because we can't judge anything, or we're judgersons, and that's just not nice. So, so I looked at the basic bill, and I said, here's the deal. Whether it's about abortion, or whether it's about gun control, or whether it's about, whether I should wear a seatbelt. If a law contrary to what I believe passes, I'd rather eventually be able to get the votes and get the people around and rally the troops to be able to change that law eventually, than not be able to. Then, we can't do anything ever. I also believe that people in general, I know this is going to sound crazy, but people in general are good. And that people in Ohio know what right and wrong is. And that the minority is the ones that are pushing this agenda for abortion rights. So I still believe that Ohio has some semblance of right and wrong still. I could be proved wrong. I could be wrong as soon as November, from what I hear. But I still believe that we still have some people in Ohio that have a brain, are ready to keep this thing going. So, that being said, when I voted against it. I made sure that, it was one of those deals where I believe in the system. I believe that over the last 150 years, we've done a good job, and we'll continue to do a good job. It was kind of funny, though, to see that the lobbying firms for the Democrat Party or Democrat funeral were from Illinois, and the Republican funeral groups lobbying was from Washington, D.C. and California. None of those areas do I consider very conservative. So, what kind of acts do we have on that? So on that, I did try to find a couple of good, wholesome, fun stories, and I came up with a fashion designer, Christian Cohen. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. Worked on a collaboration with an unsuspecting company, somebody you wouldn't really suspect, and they called this the Sweet Seat. Anyone want to guess what company they worked with? Yep, you guessed it right, or you didn't. Either way, they worked with Candy Crush Saga. Yes. And what this dress will do is it creates a beanbag-like effect, and it allows you to sit on the floor of a bus or a train or just about anywhere in public during rush hour if you want. I'm not sure why I would sit on the floor during rush hour. Has no one been trampled before? Has no one seen that movie? Plus, if you've ever been in the subways of New York City or any major city, the floors aren't really that clean. I mean, I don't care if I'm sitting on a beanbag or not. I'm still not really wanting... I mean, like, if it could stand me up, if it was like a stool, maybe I would, like, lean back on it or something like that. That would be cool. But a beanbag? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. So, yeah, they think it's great. After years of chaotic commuting, he knew it was time to eliminate the most challenging part of the journey. As a student, I'd always be on the tube in London, and there would never be a seat, and I would just sit down on the floor. Yeah, no. I'm not sitting on the floor. I never sat on the floor. I commuted. I rode the T in Pittsburgh a bunch. I've gone to the subways in Chicago and New York. I've been in public transit in Germany, in Frankfurt, and Zurich, Switzerland, and no, I'm not sitting on the floor. For one, I can't protect myself. For two, I'm not, what happens if I get mugged? This is great. I'm looking at one of the photos, and some construction guy is sitting on a park bench, and she's sitting on a park bench in her beanbag dress thing, and he's looking at her like, what the heck are you doing? And that's pretty much what it is. It's like this isn't even like a good concept. Like, she's not even able to sit on the dress right. Like, she's got to kind of sit, and then the dress kind of flops around her. I mean, it's terrible. And it costs $1,000. I can make you a beanbag dress for like $75, maybe. I mean, that's like, I'm pretty sure I could get it for under 50. We made my sister a beanbag soccer ball Halloween costume one year. I think the soccer ball itself cost like $16. And I think we threw a few beans in it just to like keep it. And I think those were like maybe 10 or 15 also. So maybe $35. So I'm thinking a dress, maybe get a bigger beanbag. Maybe it costs a little bit more. I think then you might get to $50, but only then. So in the other uplifting news, a road crew paints a stripe over a pretty big, I mean, that's kind of like eye of the beholder thing. A pretty big dead raccoon on a Memphis street. Yep, let that sink in. A road crew just painting the line on the side of the road, probably just not even paying attention, just right over a dead raccoon. Somebody happened to see it and took a photo of it. It's been getting pretty good attention. And, just right on over. Somebody said it's kind of sad that they just striped over a dead animal. I would assume they have a street sweeper machine come through before they did the job that big. But who knows? Do they street sweep up raccoons? I thought they, like, somebody went through and, like, shoveled them into a bucket or, they just, like, run the street sweep, suck them right up. It's like big bugs or something. Raccoons are now big bugs in Memphis on their street sweeping machines. I'm not sure that that's how that works. That's, like, a pretty expensive machine, and I don't think they like to sweep up big animals. So, but, whatever. But, I mean, maybe they do. I could be wrong. But it is kind of funny if you see the photo. It is like just a white line right across the middle of a dead raccoon. I mean, I'm sure people were sad, and PETA's out going, you desecrated the body of a dead raccoon. But, he's dead. He's not here. His soul's wherever. It's either in heaven or in hell. I mean, depending on whether he loved Jesus or not. So, yeah. So that was it for him. I really don't have any other news for you guys. I just another reminder that, every week we're putting on new merchandise, and, this is not a conglomerate run, not a corporate run podcast. So if you do enjoy our podcast, make sure you get the word out, help us get the word out, and pick up some of that merch, or drop us a line. Let us know if you want to be a benefactor, or you want to help, or be a sponsor, or your company wants to get some advertising with our podcast. We'll gladly plug whatever you've got to sell. So let us know. And I mean, obviously, if it's not guns or something, we're going to be less likely to. But it's as long as it's something that's morally or ethically right, we'll plug along. So with that exciting news, I think.
Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.